Hey everyone, so here it is, the iPhone 11, a phone that, believe it or not, came out way back in 2019. Now, full disclosure, this isn't my main phone anymore, but I just can't seem to part with it. I still use it pretty often. There's just something, I don't know, unique about it. I think it's because this was the last iPhone to have this classic rounded design before Apple switched to the flat edges, and I've just always really liked how it feels. So now it usually just sits here on my desk, and it's what I pick up when my main phone is charging. But it got me thinking, a lot of people might be looking at this phone now because, let's be honest, they're pretty affordable. Or maybe you're like me and still have one. Or maybe you're even still using it as your daily driver. The big question is though, is it actually still good? Like, can it keep up with everything we do on our phones today? In this video, I want to talk about just that. We're going to cover what it's really like to use this phone in 2025. We'll look at the design, the performance, the cameras, and a big one for me, how it runs the latest iOS 26 beta. And we'll also talk about who this phone is for and who should probably look at something newer. So yeah, let's get into it. You know, it's funny to think back to 2019 when this phone was released. It was kind of a huge deal. Apple had the more expensive iPhone 11 Pro, but the standard 11 was the one most people were excited about. It had this powerful A13 Bionic chip, the same one as the Pro models, and it introduced the ultra-wide camera to the standard iPhone for the first time. And the colors. I mean, I had to go with the purple one. It was just so different at the time. It really felt like a fun, but still very capable device. It was the sweet spot iPhone, and that's why, so many of them were sold. But that was then. How does that special feeling hold up today? Let's start with the first thing you see, the design and the display. So picking it up, it still feels really solid. It's got that classic rounded aluminum and glass design that we saw for a few years. It's comfortable to hold, no sharp edges. Honestly, the build quality is great and has held up perfectly. Now the display, this is probably where you really start to see its age, especially when you compare it to a modern phone. I have my iPhone 15 and 16 here, and when you take it side by side, yeah, you see the difference immediately. First thing is the notch. The iPhone 11 has this wide notch, which was normal back then. But now on the newer phones, we have the dynamic island, which is much more, well, dynamic. You can control your music, see your timer, all that stuff. It's a really interactive part of the display now. And see the bezels? Yeah, they're quite a bit thicker on the 11. It really tells you how much of a gap there is between this and a modern iPhone. And of course, the panel itself. The iPhone 11 has an LCD, not an OLED. As you can see, the vibrancy is not equal. And yeah, it's on another level. If we compare OLED to LCD, the blacks on an OLED are true black since the pixels turn off completely. Here, they're more of a dark gray. The contrast isn't as punchy and modern phones get a lot brighter. But I will say this, Apple did a great job with this LCD screen on the iPhone 11. It looks great thanks to Apple's own color tweaks. Everything is still very accurate and pleasant to look at. Is it a deal breaker? For me, no. But if you're coming from an OLED phone, you will notice it immediately. For most people though, I think it's one of those things you just get used to. Okay, so how does it feel to use? This is where things get interesting. This phone is running the A13 Bionic chip. It's several generations old, but honestly, it's still really capable for most things. Opening apps, scrolling, texting, browse. It's smooth. I haven't had many issues. See, I'm running the latest iOS 26 public beta on here, and I've got to say, I'm really impressed with how Apple has optimized it. It feels, I don't know, more fluid than iOS 18 did. It seems like they've done some tweaks to the thermal management and battery usage, which is huge for an older device. Now, a big reason for this good performance is that I recently got the battery replaced. It's at 100% health now. If you have an iPhone 11 with a worn out battery, it's gonna feel slow because the system throttles performance to save power. A new battery, it's like a new lease on life for this phone. Seriously. For those who are interested in the numbers, I did run Geekbench 6. I got 1698 on single core and 3984 on multi-core. Those numbers aren't gonna compete with newer iPhone like iPhone 15 or 16, of course, but they're still very respectable and beat a lot of budget Android phones being sold today. It just shows how far ahead the A13 chip was back in its day. It can even handle games like Genshin Impact. You just might have to lower the graphics settings a bit, but yeah, it's still nice to play. Alright, let's talk about the cameras. We have a dual camera system, a 12 megapixel main lens and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. in good daylight, this camera is still fantastic. Seriously, photos are sharp, the colors are great with that classic natural Apple processing. Deep Fusion helps pull out a lot of detail. And you know, it's interesting. See, when I'm comparing photos from this side by side with the newer iPhone, like the iPhone 16, for both the main camera and the ultra wide, at a glance, you might think it's not that huge of a difference. The iPhone 11 shot still looks great for just, you know, looking at on the phone screen. But yeah, if we pixel peep it, if you really zoom in, you absolutely see the difference. The newer iPhones have a bigger sensor, a bigger megapixel count, much more advanced HDR, and other camera tweaks. So the photos are cleaner and have more detail, especially in the shadows and highlights. The newer hardware just captures more information. But for your average Instagram post or just capturing memories, the iPhone 11 is enough. Video is also a strong point. It shoots up to 4K at 60 frames per second, and the stabilization is excellent. For vlogging or shooting home videos, it's still a great tool. Where it shows its age is in tricky lighting. The night mode works, but it's much slower, and the results can be a bit soft compared to newer phones. And the ultra-wide camera, it struggles a lot in the dark. So if you're someone who takes a lot of photos at night or in dim restaurants, that's something to keep in mind. Okay, now this is a big one for me. The fact that this phone, a 2019 device, is running the iOS 26 beta in 2025 is just amazing. It gets all the core bug fixes, security patches, and most of the new features. That long-term support is one of the biggest reasons to stick with an iPhone. Now, there is something important we need to talk about. Apple Intelligence. The iPhone 11 does not support it. It requires a newer chip, and honestly, for me, that's not a deal breaker. At least not right now. You know, Apple Intelligence is still in its early days, kind of like a public beta itself. So for the really powerful AI stuff, I usually find myself turning to other apps anyway, like Gemini or ChatGPT, which work great on this phone. So while it's a bummer to not get the built-in features, the core AI tools I rely on are still perfectly accessible. Also, there are a few things you really need to consider. First, no 5G. We've talked about it for years, but in 2025, 5G is everywhere. If you live in a big city and need the absolute fastest download speeds, the 4G LTE on this phone might feel a bit slow. For me, for my day-to-day, Wi-Fi is what I use most, and LTE is plenty fast for music streaming and maps, so it's fine, but you have to know that limitation. Second, that LCD display as we talked about, it's good, but it's not OLED. And third, the future. Getting iOS 26 is great, but there's a very real chance that this is the last major iOS update for the iPhone 11. So if you buy one now, you'll get security updates for a while longer, but you might not get iOS 27 next year. So we land back at the big question, is the iPhone 11 still worth it in 2025? Here's how I see it. For someone who needs a phone on a tight budget and just wants the core Apple experience, iMessage, FaceTime, a good camera, and smooth performance for everyday tasks, yes, I think it's a great choice if you can get one with a healthy battery. If you're already using an iPhone 11 and you're happy with it and its battery is still good, I don't think you need to rush to upgrade, especially with iOS 26, keeping it fresh, save your money, and wait for a bigger leap. But if you're a current iPhone 11 user who is starting to feel its limits, maybe you're frustrated by the camera in low light, you want a brighter, better screen, or you need 5G, then yes, it's probably time to upgrade. An iPhone 13, 14, or even a newer 16 or wait 17 this fall model would be a massive step up in every single way. For me, for right now, this purple iPhone 11 is still doing the job. It's a testament to how well Apple built this thing. It's not the best anymore, not by a long shot, but the fact that it's still this good is pretty remarkable. So that's my take. I'm curious to know what you all think. Are you still using an iPhone 11? Let me know your experience in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.